There are moments in life when everything feels like too much. Work, responsibility. Then, there's the moment when you look at your family and think, we need a real damn break. I'm Matt, husband, dad, chaos wrangler, and a guy who spent years taking vacations that somehow felt like work. I'd come home more exhausted than when I left. Then came the one that rewrote our entire story, our first cruise. And listen, this wasn't some smooth Instagram perfect departure. This was total chaos. Full-blown sweating through your shirt chaos. We should have flown in the day before the cruise, but my dumb same-day traveling mistake kicked in. The airline canceled our flight. We dropped our entire vacation savings just to get to the boat. We sprinted, we prayed, and somehow we made it to the ship. Barely. And that disaster turned into one of the best vacations of our lives. When the ship pulled away, I wasn't the provider, the fixer, the guy carrying the weight of the world. I was just Matt, and I was standing on deck at sunrise hearing the waves. You know, that moment, the calm after the chaos. It became the spark. This is what I want for my family. Memories that matter. Stories with heart. A legacy my kids can look back on. So Kat and I built K&M Getaways to share the real, raw, hilarious truth about traveling. The wins, the failures. This was our adventure. It's our therapy. Our proof it's never too late to start living on purpose. So if you want a travel channel with heart, honesty, and definitely some Gen X energy, welcome aboard. Kicked off our day in Little Havana at the Visitor Center, the classic tourist bodega where everybody tries on hats they probably shouldn't. Kat grabbed one that was too small, and I grabbed one that might have been worse. I even asked you guys on camera if the fedora was for me. Spoiler, I didn't come home with the perfect start before the real Little Havana.
Stop at El Pueblo, Little Havana, for some good Cuban coffee, a couple of pastries, maybe a prosecco. They're having a fun little morning just after around Miami, and we want to spend $10 and straight out. Are you having fun yet, baby?
Yep. I'm just thinking, why did I bother with one?
What'd you like?
So Cuban coffee for two comes in a little thing like this. Sip it out of this. It is super strong. It is espresso full with sugar. So it's like
Sharp,
colada.
sweet, colada.
So just for two. Cuban coffee.
Cuban coffee for two. Me and Kat are here at El Pueblo enjoying Cuban coffee and pastries. What a great fourth day, even though we haven't started our cruises. What do you think?
I like it. Reminds me of Haiti.
Reminds you of Haiti? Only Cuba?
Because their coffee there was, this to the sugar.
This is like lava and cheese. Oh my goodness, look at this guy. Warm, beautiful. You know, this may be a tourist thing, but I'm okay being a tourist this morning. This is really freaking good. It's worth every bit.
Hey crew, next up, cigar rolling in Domino Park. There's a moment in there that we almost didn't share. This tiny park right here, it's louder than South Beach, more intense than a cruise line buffet, and the most honest thing you'll see in Miami. Welcome to Domino Park, where the stakes are low, but the yelling, that's Olympic level. When you walk into Domino Park, there's no easing into it. You step into a wall of noise, dominoes slamming, Spanish flying so fast you can't keep up, and that steady rhythm of old friends who've been arguing about the rules for 40 years. Everyone in here knows everyone. It's not a tourist show. It's a neighborhood ritual. And we were just lucky enough to blend into the background for a minute. What you don't see from the outside is how much personality lives at these tables. You've got real serious players, the ones who treat dominoes with Olympic intensity. And then you've got the guy who clearly just came here to talk trash, sip their cafecito, and complain about politics. And honestly, that's what made it great. There's no pretension, no stage cultural experience. It's Miami the way Miami actually is. It's loud, opinionated, warm and messy in the best possible way. You can feel the generations in this place. Sons watching their fathers play, friends who have sat at the same table for decades, and people who have lived 100 lifetimes inside this one tiny park. It's one of those rare places where you don't need a tour guide because the entire story is happening right in front of you. Before we head into the cigar shop, what's coming next? Domino Park was just one stop in our day, and it was really cool. We hit the ball and chain for some midday cocktails, one of the coolest spots in Miami. Then we had the best lunch at El Cristo. Thanks to Jenny, we wandered into the Little Havana Cigar Factory. The whole building is a humidor. We got lost in the shelves and the smells for longer than we planned. All of that would have been an amazing day, but that's not what made it unforgettable. And trust me, you'll know it when you see it. After Domino Park, we headed up Calle Ocho and stepped into a large cigar bodega, the kind of spot a lot of tourists end up in. But even though it wasn't some hidden backroom secret, the crafting happening in front of us, that was the real deal. At the entrance, a cigar roller sat at his table, working with a level of muscle memory you only get from doing the same thing 1,000 times. His hands moved on autopilot, smooth, precise, effortless. He barely looked up at the crowd forming around him, not performing, not selling, just doing what he's always done. And that's what made it so good. Even in a busy tourist-heavy shop, the authenticity of the craft cut straight through the noise. You could feel the history in his hands. You could hear the leaves fold, and you could smell the tobacco oils in the room. Nothing staged, nothing polished, just the rhythm of Little Havana and the parts that still stay true no matter who's watching. And then, after all that, the moment that made this entire day unforgettable. So stick with me, we're headed to the ball and chain next. The whole Miami detour you're about to see, it was right before our 4-day Radiance cruise, and we did say we were going to go live every day. We hyped it up like we actually knew what we were doing. Did we go live? Absolutely not. We failed harder than a carnival guest trying to sneak booze in a shampoo bottle. You know what I'm talking about. We tried, though. Spotty internet, bad locations, terrible sound, you name it. It just shut us down. But the cruise itself, worth it? Oh, yeah. Nassau was a blast. We went down to Potter's Cay, ate at Mackenzie's. Watching that guy catch the conch right off the dock, that was unreal. It's a 1.5-mile walk to get there, so we earned that plate. And Coco Cay, we walked almost the entire island. The second our feet hit that pier, we realized our spot was basically in the outer suburbs of Coco Cay, South Beach, a long way back. But today, we're talking Little Havana, and the spot that feels like pure Miami. Ball and chain. This isn't pretend historic. It's the real deal. Back in the 30s and 40s, actual giants played here. Billie Holiday, Count Basie, Louis Armstrong, Celia Cruz, Nat King Cole, Dizzy Gillespie, and even Charlie Parker. The kind of lineup you'd normally see in music documentaries. Meanwhile, I'm over here just trying not to trip while holding my camera. You walk in and the vibe hits you immediately. The band they had, wow, incredible. We've got a clip at the end, so stick around. And trust me, it's worth it. The drinks didn't disappoint. Kat grabbed her guava daiquiri, and I went for the classic mojito. If you're cruising out of Fort Lauderdale on any of the lines, take the morning, skip the airport food court, come here, grab a drink, soak up the rhythm, and remind yourself what real culture feels like before it'll float away. Before lunch, we popped into the Little Havana Cigar Factory. One of those places where you walk in and go, oh, the whole store's a humidor. I grabbed some Cohiba Blacks and a couple of those Rocky Patel Vintage 99s. I like to pretend I know what I'm doing, just to chill stop. In and out, cigars in the bag, done. We head over to El Cristo. We sat down with this brilliant plan, and completely unrealistic, that we were going to split a Cuban sandwich. Be reasonable. Make smart choices. That lasted like 1 minute. I opened the menu and saw oxtail, and instantly threw the Cuban under the bus. 1 full plate. Oxtail, beans and rice cooked together, yuca with garlic and onions. It was really damn good. The oxtail was super tender, and it just falls off the bone. The beans and rice, the yuca, that one kind of shocked me because it's yuca. Way more flavor than I expected. This is actually good. Kat ordered the Cuban fried rice with shrimp. Big portion, smelled amazing. It was one of those dishes where you try to pretend you're not going to stare, but you're absolutely staring. Now the Cuban, we grabbed it to go. It looked amazing. A perfect press on the bread. It had a little crunch when you picked it up. And inside, pork was juicy, the ham stacked clean, cheese melted all in, the pickles and the mustard yeah, I belong here. Just an amazing Cuban. On a side note, if I lived nearby, that'd be dangerous. Yenny made the whole thing feel like we ended up exactly where we were supposed to be. She checked in with us, made everything easy without trying. The cigar factory was a cool little stop. El Cristo was even better. And if you end up in Yenny's section, congratulations, your day is handled. The moment that we're sharing wasn't meant for an audience. And honestly, I'm not even sure I should be posting it. Kat and I wandered down Calle Ocho past the parts everyone knows. We ended up at this tiny fruitaria. No tourists, no music, definitely no color-popped Instagram spots. Just life happening. Lots of dust on the shelves. There were old coolers and refrigerators humming. There was a couple of beat-up lawn chairs circled around this card table in the back room. The door was kind of cracked and you could see in. There was ashtrays and cigars, those little Cuban coffee cups, not the ones they give to the tourists. These were the little tiny ceramic ones they bring from home. It's the kind of place you only find if you're not looking. We didn't film any of that. It didn't feel like it was ours to put out there. It was like you were in their living room, uninvited, but welcomed. And then there was the sugarcane lady. She was quiet, focused, doing the same thing she's probably done for years, maybe even decades. It wasn't for a show. It wasn't for tourists. It was because it was her day. And here's the part I haven't said out loud other than to Kat. I didn't even like the juice, but the taste wasn't the point. What stayed with me was the feeling that I had stepped into someone else's real life. You know how sometimes there's that moment that shifts something because it's real and you didn't expect it. That was this. You can tell you're not looking at the brochure version of travel. You're looking for moments that remind you that the world is still real, that people are still real. This moment is that for me. And it's also why I'm sharing it with you. All the stuff that made Little Havana feel alive the second we stepped in. The ball and chain, the best damn lunch of our entire trip at El Cristo, and the Little Havana cigar factory.
Ya estamos hablando por el sol y en el alma yo tengo soledad y si ya no puedo verte porque yo pienso quererte para hacerme yo firmar. Siempre fuiste la razón de mi existir. Valorarte para mí fue religión. De tus besos demostraba el calor que me brindaba el amor y la pasión. Es la historia de un amor como no hay otro igual. Me hizo construir un viento del mar. Eres nuestra vida apagado de ay, que brillaba locura si tu amor no vive. Siempre fuiste corazón de mi existir. Adoraste para mí, fue vivido. Y en tus besos encontraba el valor que me brindaba el amor y la pasión.
And we'll see you in the next video.